expecting people to join in virtually. I would think there's population. You go. I have to put here. Yeah, until we get, into the. Okay.
And then you'll advance through that case we.
Yeah, I did. Okay, I think we're good to go technology wise, so, and most of you got muffins and you're good to go. Okay, so I guess I will officially call the meeting to order at 9:03 first. We've got, everybody has signed in, hopefully, or maybe Joe needs it. You can pass the sign-in sheet around.
Yeah, sir.
Because we're doing a facilitated process, there will be an opportunity during that to introduce ourselves, so we're not gonna start with that today. So if you looked at the agenda, this is a different meeting today. We are not gonna have like our typical business meeting. We have one item of business to approve the minutes from the last meeting, and then the rest of the meeting is really gonna be going through this facilitated process. So we'll go ahead and take care of our few business items. And then really the bulk of the meeting will be going through this facilitated activity. So we'll handle these few little business things. I'll do an introduction to the activity we're gonna do today, and then Shannon will take it from there. So our action item of agenda is to approve the minutes from the March 26th meeting. So we would look for a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll motion to approve Nick Carlson.
Is there support?
Or
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minute signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Minutes are approved. Public comment. We don't have any public in the room. Do you have, Jeff is online. Jeff, do you have any comment you want to provide?
No, Kim sent a question to me yesterday via email regarding the contract. I inquired with the administration on where it is located right now, and I'm waiting for a response. So as soon as I find out, I'll let Kim know that the contract will be on its way.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Seeing no other public comment, we can move on to item number 5 to approve the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second, Mayor Russell.
Any discussion? Agenda. All in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Thank you. All right, so then just to kind of queue up the activity that we're gonna do today, a little bit of background and kind of how we got to this point today. So Kim and I had a chance to meet with Shannon to discuss this process and what would be most helpful for the committee as we start to move forward through this process of developing a materials management plan. And I think the more we discussed it, we kind of came back to the role of the committee in this whole process of developing a plan. So who thinks the role of the committee is to write a materials management plan? So I would argue that it's not our role to write a plan. That's Kim's job and her staff and the consultants. That's their role, is to write a plan. Our role is to guide the writing of that plan, to set kind of that strategic vision and goals and values that we want to see that plan end up being. So that's really the process that we want to go through today, kind of keeping it fairly high level, not getting into the nitty-gritty elements of the plan. Kim will bring those to us when she needs our input on certain things. We will do a little bit of that today regarding data, which we've been talking about. We want to go through that facilitated process to really get to the heart of what we're looking for in data so that that can help guide Kim. We've kind of danced around that, and I don't know that our suggestions have been super helpful, so we're gonna get those down in writing today. But then other than looking at the data, we're gonna really focus on that high level vision, goals, values that we want to see reflected in this plan. So any, I guess, thoughts, questions, comments on like our role as a committee in how we support the development of this plan?
No, actually, that's really helpful, the way you
Okay.
framed it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And then, yeah,
I woke up asking myself that question.
okay, good.
So,
Yeah, because I think, because ultimately, we're guiding, we're gonna provide input, we're gonna review, we're gonna give feedback, we're gonna massage this plan to the point where we're all comfortable sending it on to the next phase, to the Board of Commissioners for approval and ultimately to the state, so. But we don't need to get into the weeds of the nitty gritty details. That's what Kim and her staff will do. And they will ask for our input when it's needed, so. And hopefully that will help guide our meetings moving forward to make them more efficient in our conversations, so we don't end up in the weeds as we are, want to do sometimes. We certainly want to get everybody's input and support, and we will try to do that in a more facilitated way. Like, we're really gonna try to hone in on process, because I think that's what this group really needs, to follow a process to get the information that will really support Kim and her staff in the development of the plan. Okay, so any kind of comments, concerns before?
We have input into the plan that Kim and her staff are developing or writing, or once it's written. I mean,
Yeah.
I get the guiding part,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, there's gonna be a document that says this is what our plan is, and just wondering really at that point what our role is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I think.
remember, you're approving it,
Mhm.
so, and that's the same thing with the board too, so there's always checkpoints too. So you're seeing it, you're like, it's the same thing with the municipalities and everyone. That's what the inputs are too. So like, I'm providing you, this is where we're at. This is what you're seeing. I'm stuck on this. This is, it's always, there's checkpoints, This is all the data I've collected. Like, for example, especially you being like waste manager, public airways. You're a little bit more in the weeds of it because of what you are. So
Yeah.
you're seeing more of what I'm doing. But it's the check back. So eventually, like, all right, here's the data. This is what I've collected so far, so you guys can see it. So you'll see points of it. For me, I'm not the type of person just to go rogue and not check in. So there is check-ins, yes, yeah.
Okay.
And I think
yeah.
again, it really comes back to a process. We want to be systematic about this and not just brainstorm and like be left and right and everywhere. We want to go through section by section, topic by topic, and be very purposeful about the input that Kim is asking for, the feedback that we're providing, as opposed to so far, we've had just a lot of ideas here and there and everywhere. And we don't even have a grant to really start this process. So once Kim gets into the actual components of the plan, that's when we'll be systematic and bring a topic, to each meeting. And so, does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll feel more comfortable as we go through it.
Yeah.
And what the role is.
Can I ask about the timeline? Because that might also relate to that question.
For the entire plan?
Yes, because it's gonna take a while, right?
Yeah.
So there's not gonna be like a period of time where we're not meeting. We'll continue to meet. And then go through the whatever we need to as it goes.
Yeah, the timeline right now is kind of off kilter a little bit because the state's funding is the state has started the timeline, but then the funding's not there, so it's kind of weird right
But
now.
it's
starting,
months though, right? It's not,
Years.
it's years. Okay, all right.
yeah.
So we got a while.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep, so we don't need to get ahead of ourselves, trust the process. And trust the process today and fully participate, and I think you will be happy with the outcome at the end, so with that.
Good morning. My name is Shannon McCorn and I lead project teams here at the county. I'm excited to step everybody through more of a structured process today so that there isn't as much open discussion and there will be time for further discussion. But we just want to make sure that we get through all the perspectives or all of the phases that we're going to work on today. And we know that a structured process just gives us that avenue to have some better ideas to really leverage all of your experience and expertise. And it gives us the guardrails for better outcomes. So we are going to jump into our icebreaker that everybody is excited about. Page down there. Maybe. I think the air. Okay.
You have to have the cursor on that screen.
That's a good question. Who here has worked with Shannon before? Anybody? We got a couple?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I haven't, so I'm excited.
Okay.
And I've heard it's really helpful, so.
Thank you.
Yes, Shannon helped facilitate the real estate transfer work group, and that was a really great process, and we were still in process.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, nearing the end of that.
Mhm.
That's exciting. So we're gonna start off here with the pirate ship icebreaker. And if you would think about your role on this committee, and we'll have everybody introduce themselves, what organization you're with. And I don't know how far back you can see the numbers. Feel free to come up here to look a little closely, but to just tell me what number you feel like when you think about your barriers and what you encounter on this team, what number resonates with you? And I can start. Again, I'm Shannon, leading project teams, and I like to choose three of them. I like number 8 because the teamwork and the collaboration, I really enjoy that in my role. Feel like number 2, kind of looking out ahead, what's gonna be coming up. And then sometimes I just feel like I'm treading water down here, number 18. So let's, Joe, if you would like to start,
Perfect.
please.
Yeah, I'm Joe. I have to just admit I'm number 17, real quick. Moving on from there. Moving on from there. You don't know why, you can talk to me later. I was looking for somebody who's sort of watching, so maybe that's 7. If I could use that, and so I'm gonna be kind of new to the committee, but I view, my role to kind of watch and then to help it anywhere I can. And in some ways try to, since this is gonna be a long process, be ready to prep and kind of, when we get towards the end, push this towards the board.
Thank you.
Nick,
I would say I'm number 21 on there.
that was a joke. There's.
Wow, I
Should've
can
taken the
find that
feedback and it is for all of you.
I would say probably number 2 and 5. Or I'm sorry, 2 and 6. 2 and 6. Helping to steer the boat, make sure the boat's going in the right direction, and also looking ahead to see what kind of pitfalls or opportunities might be out there. As a member of the team helping to steer, I would see a lot more people touching that steering wheel, and also up in the bucket there.
Thank you.
Tom Mahoney. Normally I would say I'm a 2 or a 6, so I'm struggling, so I'm trying to figure out which guy on there or which person on there is the one struggling to give up control. And it might be the one, might be 14, I don't know. But I'd say my role is gonna be, for sure, number 8, doing whatever we're gonna do to help go forward. And same with the 13. I'll do the small tasks if I have to help the team be successful. But yeah, whichever one is the one that's given up 2 and 6 is control. That's me.
Thank you.
Matt Rosser, WM. I'd say 8, of course, working together with people. And, with my role too, I would agree with Tom, 2 definitely is another one. And I can't tell what number it is where the hole is in the boat side of the boat. I feel like fixing things and solving problems is a big thing in my role also, so.
I like that. I didn't even see that one. Fixing Joe's shot.
Thank you.
I'm Dan with Organic Cycle. Uh, uh, is number 9 sleeping?
Or one.
So, yeah, I'm not a real committee guy, so probably 9.
Okay. Thank you. I think he's kind of hanging out for dear life out at the front there.
It can be 20.
And the say 20 is just 20.
No, I don't feel like I'm out of it. Just, just go with the flow. 8's
Yeah.
fine. I don't.
Thank you.
So I'm Ted Costigan, I'm the supervisor for Fulton Township. And I would say initially I was number 12. I'm not in this industry, so I feel like I'm just kind of running, trying to play catch up. Trying to understand what's going on, why this sport, things like that, but ultimately I suppose I'm more of like a number 8. Work with everybody just to get to a point where we're happy, to plan forward, so.
Thank you.
I'm Carrie Bless. I probably, in relationship to this committee, number 3, like, I have a lot of, thinking of that as an innovation, is the way I'm reading it, like, that bringing innovation to the table, like different ideas or different things that maybe no one thought of that we look at from a circular economy perspective. And number 8, I mean, the teamwork side of it, making sure everybody's interests are aligned.
Thank you.
I'm Paul, and I'd like to be more fun with this, but probably 2 is kind of, yeah, right, and 8 as well. I like the idea of number 20, just kind of thinking, all right, I got this crew pulled together, they're gonna do their thing. I'm just gonna,
Ooh, but maybe 20's looking at a treasure map and he's gonna guide the ship.
You'd be the cheerleader, number 1.
I could do that too, Tom.
Thank you.
Russ Boersma with Aero Waste. I guess initially I was looking at 7 as somebody that's on the boat and kind of looking ahead and helping see where it's going and guiding it. And then also number 10, still, putting in the work and, helping out on even some small tasks.
That's great. Thank you.
Right, I'm Kelly, the ODC network. And I should have been prepared after, I'm like almost last, but, yeah, I kind of see my role, maybe a combination of things, like a little bit of 2 looking ahead, and kind of, those like scouting the potential hurdles we have to get around and through, and then a little bit of 10 too, kind of that cleanup crew. But definitely 8. I mean, I see my role, I don't know that I see a character representing kind of like not the captain, but like the first mate, right? Like supporting the and the rest of the crew, in this process.
Thank you.
I see myself as, so, see, I saw number 16 is not like a fixer. I saw number 16 as like person stating the obvious, like, oh, there's a hole in the ship. I saw myself as like that person, like, okay, guys, there's a problem, we gotta fix that, like, and everyone's like, well, obviously, we just got shot by a cannon. So I kind of saw myself as that, because I kind of state the obvious, like, okay, guys, there's a problem, we gotta fix this, and I tend to do that, like, okay, there's something, we gotta fix this, and I tend to like do, all right, there's this, and I kind of saw number 20 as myself in the sense of like, this giant mental bubble of all these things I gotta do, as like, this whole ship is me, like, I tend to do, I have like a giant laundry list of things I have to do. And I saw this whole ship as my bubble of like, it's all the things I have been doing, like, okay, I do this, and I forget to not micromanage, but I forget that I have this whole team of a ship that, like, I have all these people that can help me sometimes. And that I need to like, oh, there's a whole team, like number 8, like, there's people that can help, and I forget, like, there's this whole committee of like all these resources that we have, and there's a whole ship that we can use. On making this laundry list of things, yeah.
Thank
So,
you. Yeah. Let's go down to the next slide, please.
Should go use the arrow now.
That'd be good. Okay, so for each section that we go through, or each perspective that's up on the wall here, everybody will have 2 to 3 minutes to brainstorm individually. We're gonna focus on one perspective at a time. Write in large letters on your sticky notes, please, with the markers. And then just make sure that you give a little bit of an example of what you mean without writing more than 6 to 7 words. It just makes it so that you can read the sticky notes and the information a little bit better. Slide down, please. So we will, after everybody does their individual brainstorming, we'll take 10 minutes per perspective up here, just to bring your sticky notes up. Try to read just what's on your sticky notes so that we can try to stay on track, and there will be room for more discussion as we go. And if there's a like idea, of a similar idea, the same idea, just stick your sticky note next to the other person's, will kind of naturally cluster them together. And we'll just follow that through every perspective here, or every phase. So what we're going to work on today is, what is our vision that describes the ideal future for the committee? And what are the values that will guide the materials management plan? It's worded here a little bit differently than the sheet up there. The sheet up there might be a little bit easier for comprehension, but what is our vision that describes the ideal future and the values that will guide the plan? What else? So we'll start out with the data, facts, and figures, and this is what normally we send out ahead of time so that we have some time to think about that. It kind of gives us the baseline for the day to build off of. So any and all of these bullets up here are kind of your guide. So what has led up to this? Kind of why are we here today? What is the current information that you have about what we're working on? What's in your head about what you feel the values and the vision should be? Are there data, facts, and figures that we can share? I know you've talked some about data, and want to have that kind of prepared to have in our mind as we work through this process. And if there's information that we don't know or that you still need, you can write it on a sticky note, write a question mark on it, and then we can follow up with that after the meeting today. So I'm just going to give everybody, I don't know, Kim and Kelly, do you want to give kind of do you want to talk through that at all with the group? Or do you feel like we're at a good point to just have everybody dive in and come up with what they feel is important for the data, facts, and figures?
Provide more guidance.
Oh, I think.
Just jump into brainstorm.
Yeah, let's go ahead, then go ahead and start. Anything and everything, this is the place where there's no bad ideas. Just keep writing different sticky notes for your different ideas and everything that comes into your head about data, facts, and figures that we know, or that we feel we need to know with the question mark. Go ahead and write that down. Go ahead and start.
This is what we think we need to collect.
It can be anything that you're currently aware of, anything that you feel that you don't have yet that you would like to collect. It can be both.
Let's answer the question.
Yeah.
I know you guys have.
I just gotta,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about this, and I don't wanna be the cannon in the boat, but what are we doing? I mean, is this necessary, what we're doing for the next 2 hours? I just, and again, I value your work, I'm sure you're great in what you do, but I feel like this is a real big waste of time.
So what we're trying to do is set the value and vision of the group.
Okay,
So the plan, so that also give us sets of ideas of where the plan's gonna go.
okay,
So the vision, for example,
and we can't decide that in a regular meeting?
all right, what's the vision of the plan?
I'm not
That's
saying-
what I'm just saying.
Okay,
As an
and I'm
example.
not trying to be argumentative.
No, and I'm not
just trying to
either.
figure out what the next 2 hours are as far as
Yeah,
what we're doing here.
yeah, and that's what I'm asking you
Right.
in a sense. So I'm not trying to be argumentative
Right.
with you, is as there's 11 people in this group, and
Yep.
that's a big group. So to be able to narrow it down, 11 people's ideas, this is a way to do it in a single set way. And that's what's kind of, it's hard. And this is the way to do it in a way that gets everyone's voice heard. And it's a way to do it.
I
So-
think we felt that the facilitated process was important because just of how this group tends to function, it's not always easy for like me and Kim to run a
Yeah.
process because we get off on a lot of tangents. So we
Yeah.
felt it was important, at least for like, to get us going in the right direction, that we have a facilitated process to work
Yeah.
through.
And it's, yeah,
Just want to make sure you have that solid vision, the solid values that will help guide that plan and it will assist her. And as we step through this process, you'll see that we'll be able to solidify that as it goes. And part of that process is thinking about currently what's happening, thinking about what's the need to be meeting today? What's the data facts? You guys have talked about a lot of data throughout your meetings and anything that's relevant that will help create that vision and the values.
so and if you're not understanding it,
There's a data piece
Yeah.
with your plan, so.
yeah, so,
It's
yeah,
not that I'm not understanding.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking this might be a waste of time. That's my
Yeah.
perspective. so.
yeah, and I understand that too, and so if you're seeing it as a waste of time, help us understand that too, cause
Yeah.
like you said, I don't wanna waste your time either.
Right. Right.
So, and I understand that, and I get that.
Yeah.
And yeah, completely, and so that's what I wanna understand too. So, because the one thing is what I value is the fact that setting a value as a group is important, and so that's what we need to understand, because I can't drive the data set if we don't understand, if I don't know what the value is as a whole. In a sense, so if I'm driving the set of the data value as one item, as a set. So if we're valuing, let's say the water set data. So the Ottawa County's water data is more important. Than the value. I'm not gonna start focusing on this kind of set of value more so versus that,
Will help guide what data you want to.
Yeah.
And share, right?
So I have a comment for Dan. So I'm pretty new to the group, so I don't have a lot to add right now. I have done a lot of different facilitated or agile type methodology like this before. So it's used frequently in businesses and organizations. And it starts a little slow, but then it really helps everybody.
Okay, I don't, we don't have to waste any more time. I'm
It could
wondering
help, yeah.
the validity and why we're doing this. And that's.
Yeah,
good.
they're
We're good.
proven
We can move on.
processes, yeah.
We can, and I'm sure it will all sort itself out.
Yeah.
All right, so we've spent a little bit more than the 3 to 5 minutes, but is somebody ready to start sharing what they believe the data facts and figures are that will help us get to the vision and values of the committee?
Okay. Go up there and I put them up there, right?
Yeah.
So. For me, the recycling rate, like being crystal clear on what the current rate is versus what the goal rate is. Where are we at current state? Then, number of residents without access to recycling, like, I feel like I should just know that on the top of my head, because I don't know. Maybe you want to add businesses to that. And I almost would summarize those two things as, what I'm really looking for is a gap analysis. What are we missing in terms of the infrastructure related to those? Spread different, but that's fine.
Spread you out a little bit here if there's some more.
Okay.
Ah, you want to. I'm quite similar to Carrie's for quick, so estimated, let's see, let's go. Estimated total amount of, materials that exist countywide. Spatial distribution of existing waste materials, location.
It's kind of similar to GAP also.
Yes, sort of, they're all kind of there. Spatial concentrations of mapping. Just of recycling and waste generation, existing capacity countywide to handle materials.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, we'd like.
Are we going down the line? All right.
You will start in order next time. I just wanted to open it up to the first one.
I had, what areas of recycle would the plan like to expand? And also, how many residents are currently using drop-off centers? I know drop-off centers are gonna be a part of the plan and the area to get to those gaps. So,
And your first one was, are you talking about materials, like additional materials or,
either materials or services.
okay.
Which one was that?
What areas of recycle would the plan like to expand?
Yeah, let's jump off it.
I'm glad that these, mine are very similar and I'm glad because like, I don't know if we have this data or not, so. But I started with kind of what led up to this, like we need better management of our materials. And access to recycling for all residents. So then I think I had like current recycling rates, so I have that here, and then maybe this was the gap analysis, like the types of managed materials that are generated in the county. That's, yeah, thank you.
Hey, what's next?
I have two. So my number one is legal requirements. I want to know exactly what the legal requirements are for the plan. So that's one of mine. My other one is my question, I guess it's a question about the facts. Like, I guess I would like to know exactly what problem are we trying to solve?
In order to get to the.
What is the problem the plan needs to solve? Because I've heard a few different words.
Yeah.
There's certain requirements, there's maybe something to focus on, or there's expansion, but what is the problem the plan actually needs to solve?
Thank you.
All right, I'll jump in here. So first one is waste volumes, recycle volumes, and opportunity volumes, so. What best practices are already happening across the country for materials management? I'd be interested in learning more about what curbside collection costs are for the community.
That's
That's interesting.
Send curves.
Collection and management practices already exist in our area. I figured some of that. And then I had, how far is someone willing to drive on average to drop off materials?
Thank you.
All right, a lot of, I need to remember, that's a number of tons currently collected in Ottawa County. Trash, MSW, recycle curbside, but also recycle industrial and commercial tons. Along with that, list recycle tons managed in-house, not collected by a hauler. For example, Nick does a lot of recycling that I don't know, and there's other organizations that maybe ship baled corrugated back to where it comes from, but it's, should that be counted in our list? A list of all companies that manage MSW and recycle tons in Ottawa County. You know, 3 of us are here, but there are others, and we should. We're gonna be getting information from them, we should know who those all are, and then opportunity tons broke down by type. For example, once we know what our number of tons are, how much of it by typical breakdown is organics, how much of it is plastics, how much of it is the different streams. And I don't know if we would use the West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum calculation to just use that same ratio. What was my thought?
it's similar, once the people are able
What's
to,
that?
you have, might already have this, but total waste generated in that would come in. And then put, data on what could be recycled out of that waste. And. Yeah, data on what's currently recycled, and this one's the one I said before, data on what could be recycled from the current waste stream.
Okay.
I guess I do, landfill costs and capacity.
Find a pretty basic general things. So ultimately, we're looking for more recycling, right? So where are we currently at? Yeah, how much is currently done? Where are we looking to go? How are we gonna arrive there? Gap analysis, you know, where are we lacking? Where's our opportunities are for more?
Thank you. That's a great start. So I noticed there were some ideas, kind of on, that would lead to the, my screen's been timeout all the time. On to the next. Okay, so this is where we're gonna dive into, and I moved some of the sticky notes on the bottom of the data facts and figures because I felt like we were starting to get into a little bit the ideas and solutions that you may have. So this is our perspective where we're gonna dive into what do you want that vision to look like? When you think of that ideal future and you think of success for the committee and for the plan, what will that vision, what's important to have in that vision? And what values can you brainstorm on that will help guide that plan when Kim gets to that phase? So this is again, all ideas, more ideas, the better. How can we improve the current situation? Really, we want to come up with the vision and values to help guide that plan today. So are there different possibilities, different alternatives? I think we had some of the ideas down here that I'll transfer, but just think about, what look like in the vision and values and all the ideas that you have on coming up with that. What's important to you when we're coming up with that or establishing that vision and the values of this committee to help guide that plan? So go ahead and take a couple minutes there I don't know, Kelly, you had talked about some of that, and if you just want the group to brainstorm on that. Okay. I'm gonna move some of these, some of the ideas are, we need more recycling. What are the best practices happening in the country that would help guide our vision and values? What collection and management practices already exist in our area? And how far is someone willing to drive on average to drop off recyclables? I don't know, maybe that's more of the data. I'm just moving it over because I feel like that's a little bit more of the ideals. So think about what you want that vision, the vision and values to look like.
Oh. Not a problem.
Close to 3 minutes. Wrapping up their ideas. So maybe what we do is we'll start, at this side of the room, and we'll go around the table. Kim, if you want to start.
I only got two. Keep it simple. Mine's pretty much just collaboration and education of just the basics. You know, let's keep it simple. I always like to stick to those. To get the basics down first, then we can really hit the harder stuff later. And then collaboration, and by that, I was gonna write the rest, but collaboration across like all things, like, you know, collaboration with the haulers, the MRFs, the environmental groups, government, all that kind of stuff. We're all collaborating together.
I really want all of mine to be public education because I think
Yeah.
that is so important on like what is currently available and then whatever new things come out, like public education, like the system is underutilized currently for their day. And then all the rest of mine I put under like kind of opportunities, kind of creating opportunities, more opportunities for businesses to recycle. As a business that I work for, it's very difficult to get recycling. Not all companies want to provide that to businesses. Other opportunities for diversion, like maybe not recycling is not our only option, reuse, repurposing of materials. Offering a variety of options. I mean, curbside drop off. I don't know if there are other systems that we could look at, like maybe there's some other ways to increase rates. And then just a little bit looking for like public-private partnerships. I think there's a lot, we have that in this room already, but maybe there's other ones we can explore that would help on the education side, on the expanding opportunities. Thank you.
I had, how much we are recycling, because we have a lot of different areas that grab recycling from home business and industrial. I know Nick has a lot of recycling that goes through, Carrie has a lot of recycling, so where are we? An idea for possible increase of residential would be look at a blended rate for trash and recycling. If you get one rate for trash, then it automatically comes with recycling, so then, if they wanted it, a cart would be delivered, but they're paying for it either way. And then also one location or website on how and where, like, I think there are a lot of resources within Ottawa County to drop off stuff, have a curbside collection, but is there one place that, you know, even lists like Nick's opportunities or some opportunities that Carrie had with her business? So just, I think there needs to be a centralized location where a resident can find out about all the opportunities.
I just, I come up with, just a little description of vision and values that may help as we flesh this out. The vision accurately reflects the future and describes the ideal future. And the values are the elements of the vision that serve as a guide for actions reflecting what's important in the vision. So just wanted to jump in and remind. Thank you for that.
So the idea is just thoughts.
Okay.
Resident trust that the effort to recycle is worthwhile. Better understanding of what can be recycled. Make it easy, make it beneficial. Don't add costs to residents. And how can tech make this easier?
Thank you.
Ideas literally, so build community food waste compost drop-offs. Be a great thing to have. Robust community education, so I heard a lot of education things, but to me, it all falls into like all of it, yes. Education.
Yeah.
I put a specific example on developed partnerships, so I put that quite a bit, but like Meyer Film Collection to me is a really good partnership because film is super hard to do on the collection side and like you go to the grocery store, you might as well bring your film with you. It's not that hard. It's not anything extra and it doesn't cost you anything. Require all residents to have recycling service. Just require it. And like, we should have it. Thank you.
Yeah, just some thoughts again. Basically, we need to get a better understanding why there isn't better participation. You know, whether it's costs or, you know, what motivates people or whatever, right? Figure out how we incentivize participation without adding costs, funding assistance, or I don't know, yeah, because the people collecting can't have added costs and the people that are participating can't have extra costs.
Thank you.
Need to bring credibility to the program. And transparency from all participants and haulers.
Thank you.
I put, to develop a plan to reuse materials as much as possible before we leave them. And I put, just general collaboration, idea sharing with the other counties, other stakeholders, township supervisors, and there's a lot of resources out there, you know, bigger than just this group.
So I have, we need to know really where we're at, and what we're going to, do we need to know if you're winning or not? I mean, if you don't have a scoreboard, how do you know if you're winning? But my thought is it needs to be in a percentage, not total tons, because economic conditions change. So once we do figure things out, it should be from one percentage to another percentage. Also, what support can the county provide to achieve the goal? Public and private relations and partnerships, and then we need to solve the multifamily challenge. The apartments, you know, it's not just the cost, but it's also a commitment on the, property management companies to ensure that they provide that option to their residents.
All right, so one that I have is search engine optimization for all county residents. So when they go to look for recycling or waste management or hauling opportunities, it automatically goes to the Ottawa County site, gives them all the details, so you're not searching all the wrong things, because I've been there. I think maybe that's part of tech or something else. I think one overarching concept, maybe this is a values consideration more than an idea, but pursuing circularity. So as we're looking at the different opportunities that are out there, we're always looking towards how could this become more of a circular model. So we'll kind of put that up there. Maybe some regulation reform and education around the potential of home composting. I know in some communities you can't do it at all. Some you can in certain, with certain restrictions. Increase access to recycling via curbside or additional drop-off options. That was on there a couple times. There. Another one is consolidate resources where applicable. So for example, partnerships with haulers or cross-functional facilities that can do multiple things. And also one that I haven't heard much yet, I don't think, was foster more recycling businesses in the community. So as you get more of those businesses utilizing those things, you got to create more opportunities for that, and you're creating business development in the area.
I have anything right now.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to think about those ideas that you heard about that would be a good focus for the plan. I think that's kind of where we were heading as you were sharing ideas. Think about and we can do, if there's just ideas that stick out in your mind that you think, yes, this is something that is really important to me, that this is included in the plan, or this is a new idea I haven't thought of, and I think it would be really good to make sure we incorporate that into the plan. We can dot vote the top ideas on your ideas sheet, or if you just have general ideas of what your top ideas are, that's fine too. That's up to, I don't know what you guys think. Would you like to go up and kind of look at those ideas before we think about the benefits of them, before we have the opportunity to kind of judge what might not go well? Or do you just kind of have that in your head and you can move forward?
So if I understand what you're asking, as a group, we identify which of, try and narrow it down so that whatever, as we continue on with the next couple phases, we're all in sync with these top 2 or 3 things we're focusing on?
No, top 2 or 3 things that you as an individual feel are really important. And then because we still are kind of considering everything. So you just think about what's been shared up there on that ideas sheet and what your top ideas are, what your maybe top priorities are for the plan. And then we're going to flesh out what you think the benefits will be of that and what maybe we need to think about that may not work well with that, so that we can kind of flesh those ideas out a little bit.
I'm wondering if it would be helpful with like those ideas and potential solutions to like with the groupings to just kind of identify categories.
Yeah.
That so like education, like
Yeah,
was a
that's-
big one. So
yeah.
like that would be one of the things, like, is that in your top 3 priorities, that education
Yeah.
needs to be a high value in the plan? But,
Kinda
you know, like the collaboration. So like, I don't know if you want to maybe draw
Yeah.
circles around them or something
We can
to,
do it that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can dot vote, like kind of your top 3, like what are your personal, like the things that you value most, and not necessarily like, again, the nitty gritty, but like the big picture, like collaboration is gonna be really important and a high value for this plan. Education is gonna be really,
Yeah.
you know,
Because collaboration would go under like private,
right.
private, public
Public
partnership.
So I think, yeah, so if we let, yeah,
education,
Shannon kind of highlight the kind of the big categories that are on there, and then we could dot vote. Does that make sense? Your top 3?
Yeah, 'cause I would say that
we've got education here, and this was kind of our cluster here for collaboration and partnerships. Is that okay for,
Yeah.
for a heading?
I also think the website can cover everything from how you recycle, where to recycle, and a dashboard that Tom talked
Oh, yeah.
about.
Right, so
Yeah.
kind of the online resources.
You know,
Yeah.
the percentages of our success rate and goals,
Resources might be a good way to say it too.
Right.
'Cause resources could do like a web.
online resources.
Yeah,
maybe.
online, yeah.
So we've got the two tech, helping tech make this easier in search engine optimization. I don't think there were any other technology, ideas here. So did you want?
There, it was Tom's about the dashboards or the percentages. I don't know.
Yeah, if you use the word, if you say online resources, that would cover like the resources, web kind
From
of.
percentage to percentage? Look at
To
the
me,
blended
because you want to
rate,
make that public so that
Yeah.
everybody sees
the
it.
technology.
Right, and maybe like transparency fits in with that, wasn't something of us about transparency, so there,
One location or website to how.
Yeah.
where.
yeah.
It's definitely a theme I kept hearing.
Yeah.
Then the other theme I heard, which is funny that I didn't say it since I'm so into circular economy, but was all the like the business development and circular economy type stuff, but part of me feels that that is further in our development of the plan. Like, we need to just figure out how to collect these resources, and then we'll know the volumes of what's been collected, and now we can find the circular solutions, but.
You want to name this technology or the, what was the other
Just
idea you had?
resources, online resources.
Yeah, I was just telling you, I think we call it online resources. I think it's a good broad enough topic and.
So we got transparency, circular economy.
I think transparency almost goes in with education. My opinion.
That makes sense to me.
Okay, that's good for everybody. The circular economy, is that, kind of on its own, or does that fit?
Well, I think there was
into-
some of like the other things that related to businesses. I would maybe cluster those together.
Do you want to come up and kind of help me with it?
Yeah.
We've got, yeah, more opportunities for business to recycle, opportunities for diversion, reuse, repurpose.
Yeah, all that goes together.
Okay.
Mhm.
You're on the right track.
Circular economy, and maybe this, the multifamily challenge, what kind of fits in there?
No, to me, that's completely different. That's about hauling and selection.
Variety of options, curbside drop off, other.
That would go together with
It's like, it's
the,
like a business kind of.
so to me, just to be clear, how I see it separate is you've got the collection issue. Right, which is a big issue that has to do with drop-offs and whether recycling is required. And then you have, okay, we've collected all these materials. Now what are we doing? Are they going to one person to be aggregated and turned into a commodity that can now be used back in manufacturing? Or not?
Like business challenges or like a business, I think it's like a business kind of category of some sort, like circular economy is like a business.
I don't think so, cause like, you, well, I fully believe in a free market economy, so let me
Yeah,
start with that, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you commoditize what you're recycling, you can market it. And then if there's
Yeah.
enough available, businesses will get developed to utilize that commodity.
yeah.
I think that top one.
But without the collection
Education too.
and the infrastructure to get it aggregated, then you have no opportunity. For the most part, in my opinion, we have way more of an aggregation collection problem than we have an opportunity as to what to do with the materials. Now,
Yeah.
some people will argue that the opposite, because, well, it'd be easier to do collection if we had all the, no. No,
Yeah, 'cause I'm not,
it's not enough
I'm
money.
not the best with the business side, cause I work for the government. so.
Yeah.
We talk about the education side.
And I guess these are all.
You're all kind of like the east.
No, I didn't. Oh, okay, I was like, I'm thankful for coffee because I didn't brew enough.
Oh, no, I just
Yeah.
got cold.
That's.
Didn't drink cold, but that's.
That's the like economic, the business economy. Okay. So how, yeah, so how I kind of see this, we've got the online resources, collaboration, partnership, education that we already talked about. These are all the business circularity. So I don't know what we call that. Do we just call that business?
Business development, maybe?
Business development?
I put business community on mine, but yeah,
Okay.
I think there's like a category like that.
I
Yeah,
like the idea of
Yeah.
development, just because it,
business.
Yeah.
And then these are kind of like the funding things, like funding assistance, the cost funding. And then all of these things have to do with making recycling easier for residents. This is more all the residential. So we got the business, the residential. And then I think, honestly, I think these are a little bit more data. Collection and management practices already in our area, and then what best practices are happening across the country feels more like data.
I would agree.
To me.
I would move them.
But that could be something, if that's, we value the data, that could be. That could be, so then we have, okay, so data, education, kind of the residential, making things easier, working out with the business, community, collaboration, partnerships, which certainly overlaps with businesses, online resources, and then cost funding. Those main categories make sense. But then.
My tech thought was beyond online resources. Like-
That's true. You were talking about new ideas of how to process materials.
And that would be internal, but like internal to the county or internal to data
It's
analysis.
the industry as well.
Okay.
I remember
From the search engine optimization.
Dan Borsman was talking about what they do with that AI.
We can-
Said circular economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Topic.
Probably,
More
yeah.
So put it with the business community. If that's a business community tech.
Yes.
Business development.
Okay.
Anything else?
So yeah, so I guess at this point, this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories. So we could dot vote our top 3, or we can say, these are all important and we want all 7 of these things to be addressed.
Having them ordered a little bit is gonna be
Kind of
helpful.
like a top priority.
Yeah.
Okay, so top 3, everybody gets 3 stickers and puts it by, do we wanna like do that on this, like rewrite those categories on a clean sheet? Or,
Oh, yeah, I could do that and then dot vote the sheet.
yeah, well, I mean, like this one, what were we gonna use this one for?
That was to think about the benefits of
Okay,
implementing the ideas and moving forward with these ideas for the plan. But I can add a sheet and write categories on it. That's okay. Or
Or
people
or
can
just
just
for
dot vote
time.
near the
Yeah.
category.
When you say dot vote, you mean, I don't know.
No, we have
all
stickers.
different, oh, yeah.
We have stickers.
Stickers are good.
and I can help you distribute stickers.
Dot stickers.
Sydney, Sydney dot
That's the name,
stickers, yeah.
dot vote.
Yeah, 3 stickers, everybody gets the same color, so you won't know who.
Oh, okay.
Oops, except I just wrote.
Yeah.
So just your top 3, like from your perspective, what are the most important?
Yeah, and something I didn't mention too, as we go through this process, if there's other ideas you have in any of these areas, you don't, you just say it, put it up there, just so that we have it all.
Are we prioritizing the ideas at all by time frame? So, like, are we saying what we should, are we attacking first? Like, because they are all important ideas, but I still have ideas where we need to start. That's
Makes sense
Include it
from
in
a
your
plan?
calculus.
Yeah.
I would say your top 3 priority, but,
I mean, that makes sense to me, kind of like, these are the things we should tackle first.
Yeah.
Like at least, so I write other types of management plans, and that's kind of how we structure our priorities, or these are the things we wanna make sure we tackle first, and then the other things, it's like, they're still important, but they're secondary and we'll do them when we have time.
Yeah,
So,
like,
so I think
I
that's a
call it
good
putting it in
assumption.
a garden versus a parking lot, cause I.
Yeah.
I do
There
it.
you
Yeah,
go.
grow
I
it.
like that, in
Yeah.
the garden.
Later.
Yes, yeah, later after
Yeah.
we
That's
address
down the
the
road.
highest priority things first, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it depends on so much that it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's,
And I see a lot of people get lost.
you're gonna have limited resource, like, yeah, I wanna develop.
I think we have to
Like, we don't-
figure out what we're hoping to accomplish,
Yeah.
how we're gonna accomplish
Yeah,
it, and then
exactly, and if no
at
one.
that point, it's on the education.
I think it's about.
She's trying, but.
And if I don't have the
Yeah.
parent question, nobody.
That people, what we learn.
Yeah. Well, it
People
boils
who
down to
make
that,
it
and keep trying, okay,
Yeah.
that, then you go down to the next one to try, or.
About almost anything else except for. Just like you said, so
Yeah.
put it out at the curve, you're gonna get way more collection than if somebody has to drive 20 minutes. To do it.
I had 3 bags in the back of my car. My wife wanted me to take it somewhere else. They weren't open. So I went to Goodwill.
Convenient place. Exactly.
Get Joe and Ted doing some TikTok videos.
I like it. Right.
Once we figure out what we're educating.
I think they're rapping too. Yeah.
Write it down on your sticky note for ideas.
Back some old school Lester.
And we discovered an AI app called Suda.
I always like the dot exercise.
Literally, it's like, hey.
It's to the heart of why we go in circles sometimes.
Okay, so let's think about, let's see what are the top numbers there?
It's. It's
You're
very.
gonna have to count them.
It's- You can. watch the four guys
8,
out.
9, so we've got 9 for residential and making it easier to recycle. We've got 6 for education. And 6 for online resources also, so I guess those would be the top 3. Residential, making it easier, education, and online resources. Does that,
So what's the difference between education and online resources?
So I think online resources are part of education, but education is like events out in the community, flyers that are posted, direct marketing. Like it's more than just
Explaining the online resources even, like
right.
making sure people know that's something that they can find.
It's using all the tools. You know, like our organization runs a lot of community events and so getting in front of groups of people in person. So I see education as a lot more in person.
Well, plus there's,
But
like you pointed out already, Nick, like the SEO optimization, all that, like, to me, that's not part of education, like making sure that the website is
Okay.
a good website that actually serves the community. Is more technical in nature.
would it be helpful for me to read what's in these categories before you think about the benefits of them? Or do you have, are you solid with these categories and what that would mean for guiding the plan?
I'm gonna read them real quick, or a couple of them.
a summary, just kind of a summary.
So for residential, making it easier, we've got make it easy to make it beneficial. Resident trust, the effort to recycle is worthwhile. Variety of options, curbside, drop off others, understanding why there isn't better participation. Solve multi-family challenges, cost and commitment. You need more recycling, increase access to recycling, curbside drop off options. Require all residents to have recycle service. And build community food waste compost drop off. So that's everything in the residential category. In the education category, we've got regulation, reform, and education around home composting. better understanding of what can be recycled, ensure credibility, robust community education, public education on what can be recycled, transparency from participant followers, education of basics. Recycling basics. Online resources, search engine optimization for all county residents when searching for recycling. Waste organizations, I think. Look at blended rate for TNR.
Trash and recycle.
How much we are recycling, home business, industrial, one location, website, and from what percentage to what percentage, we want to know what winning is. Don't focus on funds. Economic conditions can change. So with thinking about those top three voted areas, let's think about the benefits. So we want to be able to.
Just 1 second. I just have a little bit of a concern, just that, it looks like 66, for Tom, I'm doing percentages here. 66% of our focus here is gonna be on communications and 33% is gonna be on systems thinking. The only thing I get concerned about is, education is super extremely important and also very difficult unless you have solid systems in place. So I'm not arguing with what we have, but I am pointing out the fact that we're heavily favoring communications and less so favoring systems. And systems are some of the most important pieces to creating a solid infrastructure plan. I just want to make sure we're not going down a path now that will push into the future where we're limiting or shrinking the amount of investment or energy in systems than just communication.
I like what you're saying. Can you elaborate just a little bit more and like with an example? 'Cause
Yeah, I
wanna make sure
can.
understand.
So the collections is a perfect example of systems, right? We know if we can figure out how to do better collection, we'll have better opportunities for managing that material to get it to the next users. On the business side, the more opportunities we have for that material to be used locally, we're not shipping it to China, we're not shipping it all over the globe or all over the country or wherever. We can manage that locally, a lot of that volume, and manufacture new things in our specific area. In terms of, I don't know, regulation or things like that. So again, if we say it's mandatory to have recycling with all trash services, and it can be included in the cost, but it's mandatory in the community. Those are systems type thinking to kind of force behavior, or that's a bad term, force behavior, but creates convenience, right? So with Goodwill, what we know is if you have to drive 30 minutes to drop something off, you're not going to do it. If you have to drive 5 minutes, you're going to. And it's on most of Goodwill stores are, if you'll notice, they're right by a Meijer, because when you go grocery shopping, you drop off your crap and then you go get your other crap and then you go home. So again, I just don't want us to get too heavy on education, because I've seen where a lot of these programs go deep on the education side, which I don't also want to belittle education because it's extremely, extremely important. But I don't want us to favor communications over systems thinking.
So if we take that, the one that we voted the most on, the residential one, and we create the benefits and success to be more systems aligned than communication aligned, that might satisfy.
I think so, but then again, if we pick 3 priorities and 2 of them are communications and 1 is systems. What I just don't, I want to call the warning now so that 6 months from now, we're not 90%
Yeah,
of
that
our
would be
plan.
nice, but how are we ever gonna do it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, just as a reminder, I really appreciate this conversation because it's pulling people's thoughts out of their heads and it's identifying problems. And we're only 1 hour into a 3-year process or whatever. So, for me, what I'm seeing is that we're starting to identify a problem. And it is that people are not recycling. Right, but we don't know how many people, and we don't know if the residential recycling really is the largest impact or need. We don't, so we're missing all the data, which is where we're gonna have to immediately, well, soon, stop and go back to. But at least we're identifying, some of the larger ideas. So I would say that what we're doing right now is not going to guide, what we've done in 1 hour is not gonna guide the whole plan. But we're just starting the process.
I think that's an extremely fair.
Yeah, and you gotta remember too, this is just the plan, we haven't gone out, we haven't gotten, the impacts from the municipalities yet, what they're willing to do, yeah.
A lot of data.
And, yeah, and you gotta remember too, this is just the plan. The plan only has so much it can do, And that's a good assessment, it's a good thing to note.
And I think that was it. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I think that, I'm glad they brought that up, and the ideas one is tough for me, because and potential solutions. I don't know the information. I don't know what we are trying to address, and I've been looking at this, very forward to having a consultant on board who will be diving really deep into all the information, the gap analysis, what is the problem? I don't have any ideas for solutions now, it's all just anecdotal. I can't really get there.
Yeah, and I
until
think
we
we
do all the
will,
research.
well, this is an iterative process,
Yeah.
right? Like planning is not just, this is gonna be what's in the plan. This is gonna guide the plan, we're gonna review it, we're gonna approve a plan, and then maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, we may revise that plan. It's a living document, so.
Yeah.
I think all of this is important and good to the discussion, and just a reminder of like what a plan is. It's not like we have to do this, it's just guiding the materials management future of Ottawa County. I mean, we
Yeah.
want it to have in it where we want to go, and the goals need to be appropriate for this discussion. But it's all important, and I know Shannon jotted down a bunch of those things, but what I heard Nick saying, I think maybe belongs more in the judgment and caution
Yeah,
of some of these things,
yeah,
but.
so, yeah.
Oh,
let's-
there.
Because I mean, we're gonna address both of those. What are the benefits of these, our top things, but what are also the
Yeah,
concerns?
yeah,
of
so we're
those?
gonna
So-
keep driving forward.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So let's think about the benefits of those top solutions that you identified and in the ideas and potential solutions. Consider both the short-term and long-term perspectives on what you feel the benefits are of those top solutions. We also want to consider and explore the value and benefit that will strive to find logical support for the value of those top ideas. So think about the value, the benefits, the positives, if we expand on those ideas or implement them in the plan. Think about the optimistic view, the positive assessment, and what success would look like implementing some of those ideas that we have in those solutions and moving them forward. And then we get to do the other side. probably wrapping up our writing here, so. Would you like to start?
No, I'm kind of working on
Okay,
something related, but.
all right. Well, no, all right.
He's excited.
Thanks, Paul.
He's ready.
Reduction in landfill dependency and efficient system to reuse materials.
I did mine just kind of under three things. I said, education, and if you want equals trust, increased participation as more materials being managed. So it's more also about reducing dependency on landfills. Mandatory recycling equals material specific business development. So to me, I'm not forgetting about this one, but we have to do that first. And then online resources makes it easy to participate and personally understand your impact.
Increased diversion rates. Let's say with reduction in landfill dependency. A healthy environment, and I put keep it pure, Michigan, keep it pure. And then local business development, creating jobs and taxes.
I got one to tag on there. I put economic impact. There you go. Right up with that last one again.
Well, similar, more education equals more participation, right? Simple. And then, increase tonnage for handlers, processors. I think those will.
Well, I thought that was a.
He made the. Clear understanding of options and how to achieve the result. The application.
Yeah.
Business growth with known products or feedstock. So if there's material that we're able to generate, that might spur some industry moving into the market or existing companies being able to use the material. Increased recycling equals decreased landfill volumes.
Thank you.
What comes first?
Community awareness of the landfill problem.
Fine. You won't cost.
Should move more people.
We have guaranteed volume because we can't build business.
And this-
Invest money without.
Expose positive or negative recycling.
I guarantee you.
Got it.
Education has to happen in infrastructure of collection. As
Understand.
soon as you tell me
Why do?
you got 1 million pounds of a material life, I am more than happy to, I can sell it.
Yeah, for the
Put it back in a
for the
manufacturer.
Power Center.
Already existing in West Michigan.
We just shipped our
Talk
first
about that, I
load.
do all of it.
Don't laugh, since there's a lot of side conversations happening. So I did kind of like all three as one, they relate well to each other, they're very cohesive.
But you know, it's kind of.
They will really need to be supported by all these other things, so we're not leaving the other
Categories.
categories behind. So I think that's
To adapt.
even part of the business thing here. But then specifically increase public engagement, by meaning people participate more in other things like coming to cleanup events. Getting involved in their local nonprofits, and then increasing.
Yes, I just.
Yeah.
I had some benefits of confidence in recycling there, some education. And then also residents knowing how and where to recycle.
Can I ask a question on that, Russ?
Sure.
I get asked it a lot. And you probably do too, is, by confidence, you mean like if it's collected, it's actually being recycled as compared to,
Right.
oh, you just pick it up and you take it along.
Right.
That was, okay.
Yeah, because there was part of an education
Yeah.
on, letting residents.
Yeah, it just amazes me how many people think that.
Yeah, there's too many news stories on the orders.
Well, the reality is some parts of the country, it's very real. So we're different here in Michigan and our residents don't understand that when they read the article in the New York Times, it doesn't necessarily apply here.
Right.
have better access to different forms of recycling. With with the, residential make it easier, so like with drop offs and stuff like that, have different access to like metal recycling, electronic recycling. Learn best practices, so better with education and with online resources, you have better, you learn better best practices. And, with online resources and education, it would have better people locate data easier. And then, also locate resources better if you're better educated and, online resources.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of that business section there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll step into.
Oh, we got one more.
Got, online outlets to direct residents to, multiple, recycling options, outlets.
I have just ones out of order.
For residents that have, multiple options for recycling to create most convenience for the residents.
Did everybody hear that?
Never done.
Good to close it.
Like that.
So for residents
Yeah.
that have, multiple options for recycling to create convenience for the residents.
Yeah, thank you.
Open mind.
Education,
Yeah, thank you.
residents and business understand the importance of recycling and how many ways to do it. Yeah, you would.
So we had residents and businesses understand the importance of recycling and how to manage it for education, online outlets to direct residents to recycling outlets, and then resident how have multiple options for recycling to create convenience. Okay, so this is, next step is our permission to judge, and we want to think about those top options. Yeah, judgment and caution. So we just want to think about, which kind of have started a little bit. All the perspectives are important and they all come up at some point. We're just kind of structuring the process as we go. So what are the risks, the potential problems, the obstacles, the downsides and weaknesses to those top ideas that you have, the top solutions? Why might they not work? What could go wrong? Are there potential unintended consequences? Does something need to be changed now that you're thinking about what may not work? And will the community like these ideas if we implement these ideas and solutions? So take a few minutes to think through that.
That's what I was up to do that work. Where's my spell check?
Increase participation. Also, so I'll get it. Well, it's in the bag. And yeah. Just practice. But just. Everyone. What it needs to be leadership about that. Right, my assessor is the benefit. Say, solid.
We can go ahead and start putting up. Maybe we'll start with him or Kelly and work our way around the table.
Just did one for each. The top 30. So for education, there could be apathy, indifference, or people just don't care and we're not gonna reach everybody. Or like the increasing recycling rates, the infrastructure needs to be able to support that, whether that's the trucks on the roads themselves, the facilities that are handling the materials. And then, for the online resources, kind of that accessibility, right? Not everybody goes online and like some people have impairments, like visual or hearing impairments, how do we handle that accessibility of those resources? Thank you.
Just a caution of overlooking geographic issues. We have a very diverse county with rural, so one size doesn't fit everywhere. And then also spending resources on small gains. Sometimes there's, we're looking to increase a certain thing, but is that the best use of the resources if the gains are small?
Yeah, thank you.
Residents won't want to pay more. People will think the effort isn't worth it. Not enough demand to enhance systems. Physical commitment to pursue a good idea.
Those are good ones, Paul.
Thank you.
Somewhat similar to what Paul said, community rejecting any added cost, recycling is not for. Too big a list of commodities or materials, the focus. So we try to do everything, we'll never get there. So we gotta focus on biggest opportunities. And then I have worse carbon costs. What I mean by that is that we're doing more damage to the environment than we're saving. Because recycling is not necessarily what's best for the environment all the time.
Would that be with like Russ's one, that was spending
Yeah, absolutely.
resources on small gains?
Yes.
Can you expand on that comment a little bit more?
Yeah,
Sure.
I would say if we really want to talk about that sometime, I should come in and do like an hour presentation. I mean it, like I have that much data and you would love it. So
Yeah.
to understand densification and.
Yeah, I would
the
love
carbon-
to learn that.
I'm happy to teach that. I do that all day, every day. Community members not understanding the law or MMP, so kind of tied to them not wanting to pay anything for it. They don't understand that this is a requirement and. Yeah.
We have more of a what comes first, the chicken or the egg type of a thing. So is there a market or an outlet for increased tonnage? We educate the heck out of it, before they start participating, and they got bids sitting there, pick them up. You overflow, so that would backfire. But then the industry needs to know that the tonnage is there before they, have a bunch of investment.
Maybe at some point, for one of these things, we'll do a tour Our classes.
These examinations
Cover all of that.
on
See it
area.
in addition to learning it.
Increased distrust.
It's really helpful.
Yes.
Then you
And
can-
wasted cost or tax dollars.
Field trip.
Got a different one here from my perspective is I put removing materials from the landfill creates challenge for the landfills. We have a wet waste issue with the landfills and it's gonna create higher costs for wastewater treatment plants. So.
A little more about that too.
Yeah, I had one,
Yeah, I'm curious.
thinking, the landfills are not a bad. I haven't seen that going, so I didn't take it. One is, many residents don't recycle even when they're paying for the service as it is now. So
Yeah.
It's
That's a good one.
included in certain communities, it's included, and they still aren't doing it, so. We think all this is gonna happen, but it's not necessarily cost for many people, cost is, and then also. Business growth may not happen in Ottawa County, it's really gonna be based on economies of scale and where
That's a good point.
that feedstock will come from, so. Trying to. Shed light on that.
So if you wanted to, I tried to capture what you wrote here. Ban on that or maybe.
I will put this here, so I put similar, cost may be too high for residents, creating creative self-guided solutions. You can see a lot of trucks and mattresses out in the woods when I was hunting.
Oh, boy.
So if they can't afford it, they're just gonna throw it in the woods.
Yep, City of Grand Rapids sees a lot of that too, because it's part of their tax, so they get bowling balls and all that kind of stuff, like in their recycling bin, because it's free to recycle, but it's per tip
Yeah.
and they're trash.
It's free, it's in their taxes, but.
Yeah.
I
So,
just,
yeah,
per our earlier conversation, we can't lose focus on systems opportunities. That's more guiding this plan. I just don't want to lose focus on there. I put, what potential negative environmental things happen if business manufacturers in Ottawa County? Specifically, I was picturing the old, paper mills that were dumping crap into Muskegon for decades, right? It took forever to clean up because they were recycling the paper into new products. Exactly. So just keeping in mind some of those potential risks. And then a risk, I don't think I heard this one, but a risk of duplicative infrastructure that may be unnecessary. So if there all of a sudden becomes incentives for recycling plants and you got 4 of them in 4 square miles, does that make sense? Or is that a huge investment? And then similarly, if we're sending vehicles 10 times to the same areas, or people don't have, for example, Waste Management and Republic and whatever, all have trucks coming into the exact same spot, the environmental costs for carbon emissions are high and you're just kind of duplicative services that the environment.
Can I touch on that for a second?
Yeah, please.
And then maybe in addition, there are already a lot of pathways in the community. There's already a lot of infrastructure. So anything that is done outside of that could also negatively impact what is currently being
Yeah.
done. And that could negatively have a negative economic impact or other things too. Nope, it's a good one though. I'll make one from that one to that one. So I have 2, and I do have one for the next one. My big one is we have no data. So I will talk about that more on the next one. And my other one is probably a big one. And that some of the stuff that's been talked about, like requiring recycling, is absolutely contrary to the county vision. So that's a huge issue.
Start throwing around mandatory and things like that.
I know.
Yeah.
They don't like it.
But yeah,
You know.
Can you explain that a little bit? Why is it?
The county's motto is where freedom rings. To
Yes.
force recycling. Honestly, if that gets outside this room after today, it's just gonna blow up. So I would advise eliminating that from discussion and focusing on attainable solutions.
Well, to me, that is where it goes hand in hand with the law and the MMP, what's required. So,
The
yes,
MMP is designed to maximize the lifespan of materials, not to require recycling of residents.
okay.
Yeah, that's where I go back to, what problem are we trying to solve? If you go to the documentation and everything from Eagle, and you look at what is the problem they're trying to solve, they're trying to maximize the lifespan of materials in the system. It does not require recycling.
I think that's really important.
Yes,
So
I
that,
think
those
so
are
too.
things about this process that I'm not very clear on, and I think that we better all be really clear on it, so.
Yeah,
Restate what you just said. Yeah.
yes. So I had state law and goals and state law for goal and standards. And we need to know the state law, but also the like core summary from Eagle, the core purpose of the MMP is this one, maximize lifespan of materials. So that's from their documentation.
So how do you do that in, just in your opinion, how do you do that without recycling?
No, it is all about recycling, waste management and other things like that. It's everything we're talking about. And it could be done by forcing residents also to recycle, or forcing them to have 2 bins or doing other things. I'm trying to highlight that it doesn't
Language
have
matters.
to. And this committee should not pursue any avenues where we are trying to force, right,
Yeah.
a mandate.
Yeah,
So maybe
That's really
convenient,
important.
but not.
yeah.
Right, and there's so many more aspects as we gather data that will show where's the biggest win. Because maybe, so one thing I wrote down earlier is tonnage. What is the difference between residential tonnage and commercial tonnage? Like, maybe what we need to focus on is everything that's commercial.
That's where I think, my opinion, is that's where I think the bigger bang for the buck will be, is more commercial, because we spend 8 hours of our day working.
Right.
And then essentially, that's where I think the big bang of the buck is, and then also providing more access to some of the more inconvenient type stuff that, people don't really, But then again, I don't have enough fundamental data out there. Commercial data is stuff I have the least amount of data. Residential, we have we have a decent amount of data. And, out there, I've sent emails out to Tom and Matt just to get some of that data. I'm starting to get some of it back, but yeah, but stay on task, guys. We're gonna stay on task. Some of my judgment and caution is it's easy to forget about HHW. I don't wanna forget about that, because
Yeah.
that's the stuff that has like the PFAS and stuff that we forget about, That's the stuff that no one,
Is that the 66 tons that was in that document in 2023?
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the stuff that we, like the plans and stuff that gets out there, we don't know about. And then everyone's favorite thing you don't wanna forget about is everything costs something. So, and then a lot of mine are floor reaching type things is, and things are always changing. One thing we learn about one thing and the next day it's something else. And then, you don't wanna educate on the wrong thing. Someone, for example, like milk cartons, not cartons, but like the cartons. One MRF may take cartons, but another MRF might not. So like, I think Kent takes cartons, but then public might not. If whose MRF is taking what? What do you tell someone? So. And then communications are lacking. So again, between that could be, if I'm not saying, one county might say one thing, another county might say another, or a hauler might say one thing, and a MRF might say another, et cetera. There's always communication breakdowns. So that's, gotta be cautious of that, so. Communications is my biggest pet peeve and things, so. That's lacking and breaking down and everything goes, so.
Okay, so we're gonna consider what you came up with on the benefits of those top solutions and what you came up with on the concerns. And has that changed anything as far as your top priorities for that potential solutions or ideas? Do you have different ideas now? Do you have, this typically is just the opportunity to kind of flush out the ideas that you started after you thought about what will work well and what may not work. And so sometimes your ideas will end up looking a little bit different on what you want to prioritize. And this is your opportunity to do that. Are there any additional ideas that maybe you didn't think about in your the first idea section? So I don't know, go ahead, Joe.
I have one. It's really, really specific from everything. Or did you want to give people time?
I was going to give people time if everybody's wanting to kind of take another stab at that, or if you're feeling really solid on your first ideas, but let's take a minute. Let's take a couple minutes just to think about it. Is there anything that you look at differently after thinking about the benefits and the caution that maybe you didn't consider the first time? So let's just take 2 minutes to do that individually. And if there aren't any further ideas, that's okay too. It's kind of your opportunity to circle back around, think through it a little bit more.
That's not easy. I'm sorry. I'll try out.
Okay.
Just do a bunch of quarters, so. Oh. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. You went forward, so. All right, let's go ahead and put them up on the sheet over here. Joe, would you like this?
I could go first, sure. I'll try to do it quick. So here's my one. My recommendation for the committee would be to start with the basics. And I listed the numbers here, 4, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, and 14. That comes specifically from Eagle's plan requirements and guide. So if I look at those really quick, if I look at 4, let's see, wait, where'd I go? It's from like page 3. So identify type and tonnage of all material generated. Number 6, identify and evaluate current plant materials management infrastructure and systems. 7, include an inventory of names and addresses of different disposal areas. 8 is a facilities inventoried and their exact information. 12 is calculate the solid waste recycling rate. 13 is describe the materials management transportation infrastructure, and 14 is include current projected population densities in the area. Those are the data requirements for the plan. So I think that if we, well, do that first because it's required, that will create a baseline that we could take all of the rest of this to build into the plan.
Makes a lot of sense.
It would also educate the committee.
Inform our decision.
Yeah, and actually make us look for more data.
Mine is going along with that, where it's data will dictate the direction or next steps.
I didn't put specifics, matter a little more general, but I put on, convenience is king. For mud.
Yeah.
You heard that loud and clear.
Yeah, just based on the conversation.
Anybody else?
Set attainable goals that can be reached to win more buy-in to success.
Yeah, I appreciated the comment that Kim made, differentiating between the needs of business and residents. Yeah, it's a safe life.
Thank you. Anybody else? You all set? Okay, now we're gonna kind of wrap this up with our next steps. So just think about what we've achieved today. What are some next steps, some solid tangible action items? I gave everybody that SMART goals sheet, just kind of keep that in mind. We want them to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. When we're thinking about steps so that we can keep your ideas moving forward and come up with some concrete action steps and next steps on what to do. And I think you guys did a great job with thinking through everything. So just want to make sure we leave today, we know what you're gonna work on and who's gonna do what. And then continue to work toward implementing your ideas in that plan. So again, I think we'll just take a couple minutes to think about, or would you like to have that an open conversation or individual brainstorm first? What?
I mean, I guess we can individually brainstorm, but I think maybe we could all just agree that the next step is data.
Yeah.
Right? We need time to gather data. And obviously the other next step is we need a contract from Eagle before we can really do a whole lot. And Kim's got to hire staff, so there's, I mean,
Well, and
those
Kim,
are
what
the,
do you need from, so I
Yeah.
feel like we all love data in this room, so that's good.
Yeah.
But we can also go down rabbit holes with what data, how much data. So I really liked the way you laid out. This is the,
Yeah.
like, so let's start
Let's
there
start with, yeah.
and don't let us get off track.
let's start with the minimum Eagle requirements. And then if there is additional data that the
Yeah,
group
but like,
wants.
just stay focused on that,
Yeah.
right? So that we don't get too off on
Yeah,
tangents.
good guidance for the consultant.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
in the interim, while we're waiting for the contract from Eagle and moving forward, I like the idea that Carrie offered of a field trip
Yeah,
to Padnos.
Yeah,
I'd like
Yeah.
to learn a lot.
yeah.
I think it would be super helpful to see your facility, your MRF facility versus what we have too, like the juxtaposition, because they're really different things.
Yeah.
And happy to do that.
So from my perspective, I love that idea. I think it would be good to get eyes on some of what's actually happening. And personally, I would be okay with not coming back as a committee until we have the data, which will come from staff. I don't know when that'll be, but that's my personal opinion. In the meantime, we could learn.
and that's what essentially that's what essentially I need to know from you guys is, there's what I need to do and I'll come back and I can report back to you, but it's what do you guys want to do as a committee? So, and that's what some of what I've been working on, like as a DPA or with other DPAs is trying to get some stuff for you guys, so you had, learn some of the components. And be able to present that stuff for you, but yeah, so like if you guys want to learn, like, what does one MRF look like versus another MRF, or what does, your metal versus your plastic versus your, you as Padnos have multiple MRFs essentially, like,
We don't have a MRF.
well, not MRF,
We
sorry.
have material processing
Yeah,
facilities.
Yeah, sorry, my
and Collection
mind,
facilities.
yeah,
So,
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
right, people don't want, they really can't
Yeah.
wrap their head around what it is that we do.
Yeah. So, and that's something you as a committee can decide what you guys want to do with your valuable time.
Couple of things that I would look to see too is while we're waiting out
Yeah.
the data,
Yeah,
learning what best practices are happening across the country or who's doing what, that we might be able to say, this is an idea, is this gonna work with community or is this not gonna work? So I guess if anybody has or knows of some of those best practices that they can share, that's something we can just be learning and thinking about.
Mhm.
What's the best way to share that? Like, because I read a lot, articles and things and draw my own conclusions from them, but I mean, should we just share those by email? Like, I don't know.
Can we make a shared portal through, I don't know, like a Google Drive or something or Team?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I can.
I would prefer that over.
Basically, it's phenomenal, darling.
Yeah, cause they get buried or.
Yeah.
Might want to be able to
Yeah.
report back to it at some point.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
As long as those of us that don't use Teams have an easy time to access it, because some of us don't use Teams.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple. Once you get
The
it.
team.
I have people that use Teams, it's like, get on the
Yeah.
Google bandwagon.
I'm with you.
Uh,
Yeah.
so-
I'm happy with the Google. Like, it's-
Yeah, there's not a perfect platform, but.
Yeah, all right, so we're gonna begin and end with a little bit of a bang here, so if you guys would humor me, and you have your half sheets of green paper there. Just write down, and this can be really anything about the process, anything about what you learned today, anything about the discussion that you heard. Is there something that sticks out to you? Do you still have a question on something? Did someone's comment resonate with you? What you're feeling about, what was accomplished today? Do you have any insights, aha moments, or unexpected learnings? I always like to get a picture, people are willing, but. So after that, we crumple it up, throw it at each other, and then we'll read a couple, and then,
Can I ask one question real quick for Kim before?
Hmm?
So you're gonna try to gather the data. How challenging is that gonna be for you? I mean, I sent you some data, but we don't really have that great of data. So
yeah.
what's your challenges with it? Do we think it's gonna be accurate?
So that's where it's hard for me right now because I don't have, that's where some of the consultant is coming in. And some of it is, so some of it is very black and white, like this is what Eagle said they want. So it sounds black and white. But then some of it is not as black and white because you've got some of what you guys, you as the industry says is proprietary, which some of it I don't need to know who's who, like I don't need that, I just want like a number. But then there's also other types of stuff that goes on that I don't even understand what's going on. So that makes a level of confusion.
It gets complicated.
And then it's, so that's where it's still in limbo land. So I don't have an answer because there's like limbo land. So then that's where I've got to sit there and shift through it. Figure out, okay, what's really, what, so I've got to also shift through it and simplify it myself. So make the answer as simple as possible is I gotta talk to GIS because they're like, in my mind, the best people to simplify it because they can put it into like a database and simplify it. I think it will be easier than what I think it is.
Okay.
I think what I need is really I think I need to sit down with you, like you and then WM, and figure out who do I need to talk to, you know? And how do we can get that data from you eventually, and then with Republic and see what, you know, that's what I need eventually is to really sit down and figure out how can I get the information from you? And break down what proprietary really means to you guys and get rid of that, you know, and get that data. That's what it
Yeah,
really is, yeah,
Like it wasn't so much about proprietary, it was just, we didn't have that great of data because
yeah,
like our MERF from Grand Rapids,
Yeah.
they weren't tracking what county this stuff is coming from.
It's same problem.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and with the new rules, that will
Yeah.
change, they'll have to,
Yeah.
but we're not there yet, so I was just,
We can make assumptions.
yeah, that's what I gave you.
I don't want to-
Yeah,
you don't have to crumple the sheet if you don't want.
Yeah.
We can
Well, you just kind of throw them, and then a couple people grab a couple and read them.
throw them at somebody.
yeah,
I don't know, fun thing to do, so.
yeah.
So.
Like they should be mixed up a little
Yeah.
bit more, definitely.
I think in the end, yeah,
So let's get
figure it out.
a couple people grab them and read them, so it could be yours, so that's yours. Yeah. Just, I'd like to hear.
Someone just jumping off the back of it. Get me out of here. That's it. The pirate ship with everybody jumping off the ship into shark water. And then the other side has the actual stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go first because I got the drawing and, I have a feeling I know who drew it. But communication systems and requirements are the, three things that stuck out to
this pirate who jumped the plank.
Gotta keep that first.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. You just leave them at the tables when you're done.
I'll read this one real quick. Refreshing to hear the county is not going to mandate a solution and will let the process determine best options / solutions rather than having a predetermined solution.
Thank you.
I appreciate everyone's time today and willingness to share. And do we keep meeting before data consultants and contracts? And also agree, don't forget about HHW.
Okay. Thank you. So, yeah, unless Paul wants to read his, we're all set.
Oh, focus on data.
Yep.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
So we have like, this still is an official meeting, so we do have one more opportunity for public comment before we close the meeting. I don't know if anybody's still online.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait for that.
And then we do need to make a decision about our next meeting that's scheduled for May 28th. Do we still hold a regular meeting or do we want to not have a regular meeting and do something different like a tour? Or it wouldn't have to be a tour, it could be just education in this room, like, what was the topic Carrie said she could, like the environmental impacts of, yeah. So we could do that, or we could do a tour at, what's the pleasure of the group? Cause I think it's gonna be a while before Kim's ready to bring like data back for us to review and respond to.
Well, I mean, if Carrie wanted to do that, I could do like some videos of what the inside recycling process looks like, you know, showing the truck coming in, the sort line, and then just sort of do both.
Yeah.
At the same.
Okay.
I can play that, I mean, cause I would recommend we go to my plastics plant specifically, cause you guys can drive by the metal yards and kind of get a feel for what's going on, but in the plastic building, you have no idea, so.
Yeah.
In there is plastics, paper and non-ferrous, so you get kind of all the stuff that's behind the curtain. And in our lunchroom, I have a TV screen, so we could play any videos that you had, so you.
Yeah, or we could, I mean, or we
Yeah.
could, or we go
Either
to
way.
the short, it does make a difference. Just
Okay.
trying to be aware of everybody's time and.
So would that be considered a meeting, or are we canceling next week or next month, and then, you know, if you have time, you go to Pat?
Right, and how would that work with, this is a public meeting? Is the public welcome to join if,
So maybe
I'd
we,
cancel.
maybe we just cancel next month meeting, and
Yeah.
then, then you can invite the group to.
right?
That's
An
Fine, although I wouldn't care if there was people who wanted to join, I just need to know the total number of people and make sure that we're appropriate.
What I could do is we could cancel the next meeting and then I can work on creating a Teams channel for this group. And then that way I think you could be able to, do invite, you should be able to communicate that way. And I think there should be chats and you can do that kind of stuff too. And if you have issues doing it, you could also do the email, we can all email as well. Like you guys, I think some of you have used that before where you email through that.
I assume we wanted, if we do the
Yeah.
tour, I would set up for the same day and time that this meeting is. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd probably recommend keeping it to just the group, so it doesn't somehow accidentally expand to a lot of people, but.
Yeah.
We did tour out of Hills last year, or the year before.
Yeah, it's not an official meeting, right? We don't have to invite public. It can just be in this group as a voluntary, come and check it out. And then you can just get a list of who's all interested. Let's go. from there.
Yeah. I would just make sure you don't do like a reply all to it because there are
A lot of people.
a few people that are on it's still like government and,
Yeah.
it's not like.
Yeah.
Random public
Yeah.
type people.
Yep, and Carrie, would you be open to like, we had other people on our staff that was
Yeah,
interested?
my only,
To tag along.
restriction would be like, no more than 25 is a good number. I can't keep more than that safe, and I have headsets that we'll need to wear for hearing protection and so you can actually hear what I'm saying. And that's how many I have, at 530 technically, but. Yeah, other than that, and it's, these are not climate controlled environments, so you dress they're indoors, so if it's raining, you're fine, but like if it's hot, it's hot, if it's cold, it's cold, and. You have to have closed toed shoes, I don't want people there in sandals
Yep.
and dresses and things like that. Manufacturing.
Okay, so we'll cancel the next meeting,
Nope.
and we'll set up that Teams channel, and then Carrie will get us information about a tour and some kind of a sign up or RSVP to that. Okay. All right, anything else before we look for a motion to adjourn? There's more comments here.
One comment, it's obvious, but as a kind of a newcomer, I would really appreciate the opportunity to go see some of the locations, whether it's as a group or individually or whatever. That will help me understand what's going on. So thank you.
Yeah, this is, it's in Wyoming, just to be clear, so it's, but
Yeah.
20 minutes from here, it's not
Right.
significant.
I think you can make a call to all members with facilities and see if they'd be willing to get to.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been to Dan's facility. That's a great tour.
Yep.
We did the landfill tour last year as a group. So,
Education really starts with this group,
And if,
Yeah.
so.
I will say, if somebody ever wants to see Black River or downtown metal campus, I'm willing to do that. It's just not as informative
Well-
perhaps, because you as the public can go to there and bring scrap and get the experience.
And Carrie and I are both hosting tours for the MRC conference.
That's
this year.
true.
So you'll be able
Yeah.
to see how
Shoreline.
Goodwill's managing a lot of the stuff, and then we'll
Okay.
see the shoreline site, in Muskegon there, so.
Great.
Yeah.
If you're there, sign up for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
For that matter,
then,
that same day, they're doing the Kent County Recycling Center, so
Right.
you could,
Yeah.
You could
you
see
could
all in
literally
one day.
see a MERV, recycle center from
In a
the
reuse center.
scrap metal side and reuse all. in
When is
one day.
that?
May 13th.
yeah, I can
Tuesday,
share a
May
link to that too, to everyone. The Michigan
tour
Recycling
day is
Coalition. Yeah, I know the tours, I believe, are full.
Are they already? All right, we know people.
I can get
That's right.
you.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's tentatively, and I thought that they were full.
Well. All right.
So I'll
Yeah.
motion
Cool.
to adjourn.
Thank you. All right.
All in favor?
Okay.